Okay, let us start the class. In today's class, under my Lakshmi Narayan Krishna Foundation, as I have promised that classes will be conducted thrice of a week. Thrice of a week means 3 days of a week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, sharply at 8 p.m. Zoom platform. The classes will be conducted until my last breath of life. This is the pledge I have taken. So I have shared my link through different platforms in Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook, WhatsApp through groups. I have shared my link. So these classes are being conducted to those students who are very living in rural areas, especially in rural areas, and they are totally away of network centers and they are not able to um, pay the expensive classes. So that these classes will be conducted until my last breath of life. The main intention of the classes is that to enhance the programming skills in the students. Apart from that, I want to enhance the English communication skills. Nowadays, most of the MNC multinational companies, they are expecting that the students, they have must have so many programming skills and English communication skills. So that's why I want to support this. That's why I'm conducting these classes under my platform. My platform Lakshmi Narayan Krishna started since 2023 January 14th. Okay. So in today's Friday class, today is 5 July 2025 Friday. So in today's class, in C language, I would like to explain what is memory management in C language, how the memory will be managed in the C language, and what is the use of the memory management. So that is very important to understand because the C is the basic language. In the previous classes, I told that it is very useful language. Okay. So memory management, it is the process of handling the memory. Okay. So memory management is a process of handling how much memory a program uses. Whenever a program runs itself, that time, how much of memory it takes to run that program. I told you that program, everybody knows that program is nothing but a number of line of code that is written. Okay. So that is called a program, means maybe 10 lines of code, 100 lines of code, 1000 lines of code. Now it becomes a program. So whenever a program, as much as you have written the code, if you have written more code, so it takes more memory. If you have written less code, it takes less memory. So as per that, so whenever a program runs, that moment, how much of memory it takes, that can be handled by the programmer in the C language. Okay. So memory in C. So memory. So in C language, when we create variables, I told you that what are the variables? I told you that variables are nothing but they are the names kept to memory locations. In computer memory, what happened? Computer memory has so many locations, okay, to store the data. So every memory location will be named. They are called variables. So whenever we create different type of variables, I have explained in the previous classes, what are the different type of integer variable. It stores integer type of data. Float variable, it stores float decimal values. Boolean variable, it stores Boolean values like true or false. In generally in our language, human language, yes or no. Okay, just to represent yes or no statements, we will use true or false. They are called Boolean type of data. So variable which is created to store Boolean values, it is Boolean variable. Okay. So like that, so many variables we will create to store the data. Data is what, in day-to-day life, we will use so many information. That is, it may be integer numbers. Integers means negative and positive numbers, some decimal values, some English like text combination of characters, yes or no statements. We will, in day-to-day life, we need to use. So to store that information, we will create the variables because that variables hold the information, means data. Okay. So whenever we create variables, basic variables like integer, these are the basic variables in C language. So I told you that in the previous classes also how to create variables in C language. First of all, I need to declare the data type. So that variable hold which type of data. So here, this is the variable myInt. It is integer type of variable. It stores integer data. So in C language, first of all, we need to declare the data type. First, declaration which type of data type it is. It is float. Its name is my floats. That variable name, you can keep any name, your name, my name, XYZ, any name you can keep. Okay. Next, one more variable, my double, it is the variable name. It stores double type of data. One more variable, my char, that is a character, my char variable. You can keep XYZ. It stores characters. Okay. So four variables created, variable names, my int, my float, my double, my char. So these are four variables are created. So whenever we create the basic variables, that one moment what happens, C automatically reserves space for that variable. So whenever we have created the variables, so C what it does, it automatically reserves some memory space for that variables. Okay. So every variable, we can say that every variable occupies some bytes of memory. Some bytes of memory here, int variable, this my int variable occupies 4 bytes of memory, and float also occupies 4 bytes of memory. Double variable holds 8 bytes of memory, and character variable holds 1 byte of memory. How do you know that? How can we know that how much of memory space will be occupied by a variable? Simply by size of operator. We can simply find that size of operator. By size of operator, we can find out by the size of operator and this format specifier. Format specifier ZU. By ZU format specifier, already I have briefed in the previous classes. Format specifiers are what you know. They will be used to say the compiler that now you, my dear compiler, now you are working with which type of data. Okay. This format specifier ZU will be used to know the how much of data that variables will be occupied. Okay, by size of operator. So now we will practice that. First of all, in memory in C language, first of all, we will create the variables, and then we will, whenever variable is created, so how much of data will be allotted automatically by the C compiler to that variable. So how much of data for this my int variable, 4 bytes allotted, my float variable, 4 bytes allotted. Okay. And my double variable, 8 bytes allotted. My char variable, 1 byte is allotted. Automatically that will be allotted. So you can see C will automatically reserve space for that variable. Reserving space means allotting of the space, memory space. Okay. So now let us practice this code, and then after I will explain why it is important to know that memory, how much of memory will be taken by the variables. That is very important. So under this memory management chapter, I will explain what is the important, why it is important, to know that these variables occupy how much of memory. First of all, let us do the practice here. As I told you that this is what you know, this is your code editor, online code editor. Online code editor, what do you mean of online code editor? So you need not to install your IDE. IDE means integrated development environment, one type of software we need to install to work with any language. It may be C, C++, Java, and Python. Okay. If you want to work with any language, first of all, you need to install one IDE. If you don't want to install, you can write the code online, because suppose one website, w3schools.com, it is an online website. You go into that website and you read the topics, and you can write the code, edit the code, You can write the code, edit the code. So this is the result window. This is the code window. This is the code window. So online web editor, you can write the code, practice there, and you can delete the code, practice and practice yourself. So today's topic, this is the code written here. Okay, don't worry about that. Today's class is what how to manage what how to manage the memory management. First of all, we need to understand that how much of size will be allotted if we have created any variable. So how much of size will be allotted to that variables at the time of compilation. Okay. So first of all, task is what First you comment here, you write here comment. Today's topic is what? Uh, how much of memory, how much of memory will be allotted to a variable. Okay. How much of how much of how much of memory will be allotted to a variable, okay, when a variable is created. Okay, this is the topic in C language. Okay, so what are these? I told you that these are the single line comments. Okay, two forward slashes indicate that the commenting of a statement, so that this line of code will not be read by the compiler. So compiler will not read these statements. Okay, compiler will skip that statement. So today's class, how much of memory will be allotted to a variable when a variable is created. Okay, now come to the point. Under the code section, we need to write first stdio IO library, that is header library. Standard hash is important. Standard input output. We need to write one word include. Okay, include means you want to import. You want to use that library, standard input output library. It is a header library file to work with input or output functions. To work with input and output functions. Okay, output functions. What do you mean by the functions? Already I have explained now. So to work with input output functions, it is a header library. Okay. So this library has so many functions. So whenever we have included in our programming, so if I want to work with input functions like what scanf function if you want to work with scanf means you want to get input from the user. Okay, whatever user typing and that input will be taken. Okay, so for that you need to use input function scanf in the C language. For output functions, you want to display this type of result, you can use this output function. These two functions are part of this std standard input output header library. Okay, and apart from these input output functions, this library has so many functions. If I want to see, I will show you what are that functions. So libraries, you come here and we can see the library. So many, this is the stdio.h library. Whenever you click on this, you can see what are the stdio.h library. This is called standard input output. It is a header. Library provides a variety of functions. Okay, for input and output and file handling. This library, header library, it will be used to work with so many input and output and file handling functions. Okay, list of functions. We can find a list of functions which are part of this stdio dot header file library. So many so these are also many function. Every function has a task. Okay, our For input, printf function for output writes a formatted string to the console. So whenever you use this printf function, we will get the result on the screen. Okay, scanf function. This is the scanf function. So to take the user input, okay, it reads the user input. Okay, user input will be read by this scanf function, and that will be written to a number of memory location. As the user is sending the input, and it will be read by the scanf function and will be stored in the memory. Like the so many functions are there. Okay, every function has a task. Fclose means closes a file. So already I have told you that what are the functions. Okay, every functions already I have briefed. Now, as per how much of memory will be allotted to a variable is created. This is the first. Next is what int main function. Okay, function always must be having this. That is what these are called parenthesis brackets. And inside of the braces, whenever function is main function is created, return zero. That is very important, and it is to be terminated with the semicolon. This statement is what means this function is closed. Then after this function, there is no any statement is there. Okay, it is compulsory. You end of the total end of the, because in this main function we will write so many statements. Every statement is a instruction. So first of all, what our main line of code, main statement is what we need to create some variables. Comment here, create variables, create variables. Some variables we need to create. First of all, one variable, int variable. So first I need to declare the which type of data. It is integer data type. So then I need to create a variable name. Which type of variable name you want? Any name, your name, my name, XYZ, any name you can give. If you simply write Vasu, there's no any problem. One variable name you have created. This variable is which type of integer? It will stores only integer. But that is variable is declared and terminated with the semicolon, but you have not assigned any value. Once variable is created, it is integer data type. How much of memory will be allocated by the C compiler to this variable? Generally, I told that 4 bytes of memory. Then after, if you want to exactly know that how much of memory will be allotted at the time of compilation, okay? Automatically will be allotted, C compiler will allot the memory. We like check back that, okay? One integer variable created. Next, one more, suppose float variable. This is what float. Float is data type. First, we need to declare data type, then variable name. But in Python, you need not to mention the data type. Simply, you can create the variables without declaring of the data type. But in C, C++, Java, first of all, we need to declare the data type first, then variable. Okay. Now take float, any, suppose float height is. Height is a variable created. It is, this height means height. It stores float value, means decimal value, 10.5, like that. Okay. So integer value, this is Vasu. Whenever you want to create variables, we need to do what? We need to keep the suitable names, appropriate names as per that data, whatever the data you are storing in that variable. So you need to keep the names of that variables, suitable variables. See what happened. So Vasu is what? Vasu is a name. So Vasu is a name. So then Vasu is a name, and it is storing somewhat integer variable. So as per that, you create one suitable variable. So integer means what? It is negative and positive numbers it will store. So say any weight. Weight is what? Any weight. It may be human weight, it may be car weight, any weight. So we can store as negative number, positive numbers, 50 kgs, 50 kg. Okay. So two variables I have created. So double variable, one variable, it is double data type. Take any means double data type means it stores so many, means lengthy value, means what integer stores integer can float can store some decimal values up to 4 digits like that, but double float, it can store more decimal values like eight digits, okay, 10 digits like that. So double is a data type, it stores what? Decimal value. So I need to create a variable for that. So variable, any variable you can create, but suitable variable. Okay. So which we will say any, suppose X. There's no any problem, any can. So terminated means I have not assigned any value, just I have declared. Yeah, I have declared. Okay. Next word, char. Char is a data type. Char stores what? Suppose simple letter, one letter, any letter, any letter. Okay. Any letter means C, D, E, F, any single character. Okay. So four variables created. But whenever I click on this run button, that moment, first of all, they will be, what? Memory will be allotted automatically by C compilers to these variables automatically. But how much of memory will be allotted? So that is what generally for this int 4 bytes will be allotted. 4 bytes. For this float also 4 bytes. 4 bytes. Next is what? Next, for this double, it will store also decimal values, 8 bytes. Okay. Next, this char is a data type which will store single character. So 1 byte. 1 byte. Every byte, I told you that many times, one byte stores 8 bits. 8 bits is called 1 byte. So how can you know that this memory will be allocated to these variables by C compiler at the time of compilation time? I told you that I have differentiated the compilation and run. Compilation and execute. Run is also called execution. What is compilation and what is a run, and run is also called execution. I have differentiated both the terms. Compilation, at the time of compilation, these variables weight, height, x, letter will be allotted this much of 4 bytes, 4 byte, 8 bytes, 1 byte at the time of compilation by C compiler. But how do you know that? How can we know? So for that, I told you that one operator will be used. That is called size of operator. Okay. Now simply run this. You will not get anything. But because you are not requesting any print, printf function. If you use printf function, then you will get the result on the screen. Is it correct or not? We are not requesting, we are not using any printf function. Here, if I have used any printf function, then result will be declared here. But you are not getting any results in the display. Means you have not requested any. Now I have requested printf for what? I need to say to the C compiler, my dear compiler, now you need to work with which type of function. Now I want to work with what? Know the memory size allotted for these variables. Height, weight, this value, how much of memory is allotted. So for that, I told you that one is what? One format specifier JDU. That is very important. Okay. This is called format specifier. By this format specifier, what happens? By this format specifier, C compiler will be intimated that, my dear C compiler, now you need to work with, know the memory size, how much of memory allotted for this variable. Which variable? Suppose first variable weight. So weight means this is a variable. For this variable weight, how much of memory is allocated? So if you want to know that, we need to use this format specifier. And I told you that one operator that is called size of operator. What? Size of operator. And that size of operator, inside of this, we need to keep this variable. Understood that? That is very important, huh? So now let us see what happened. So inside a printf function, I have used this format specify and size of operator I have used. Inside of this, I have called this variable. Okay. Inside of this, I have called this variable. Okay. So now whether I can get the how much of data is allocated for this weight variable. Let us see. Now, whenever I click on this run button, so C compiler tries to read all these. So why it is getting error? So we need to check back that what happened here. Why what happened here? We need to study that what happened under the main function. Okay. So see what happened. Exactly what is the error? Please try to understand. That is very important to understand C compiler, what it is stating that. It will help you that where is the error. See, this is under at this end of this 14th line. This is what 14th line of code. Where is your 14th line of code? This is the 14th line of code. Okay. Why 14th line? You can simply you would be in doubt that, sir, 14 lines if I have counted from here, this is the first line of code and second line of code, third line of code, fourth line of, fifth line of, sixth line code. But it is stating what? 14th line. But these spaces, whatever the spaces you have taken, you have given the spaces, that space will be also counted as a line. Okay. So this is the 14th line of code. Yet here it is stating that at this sign, semicolon, we need to keep one bracket. We are missing this. Why? Because see, you printf function started with the bracket, starting bracket. It is closed with the end bracket. But size of operator inside of that one weight variable you have called. So one more bracket we need to keep here. So now run this code. Then what happens? So you need to understand the compiler. Compiler will help you lot of, okay. If you have, see, just you are getting the result 4. Only by missing of one bracket, it is giving how much of error codes. These are called in the, this is this much of errors. You will be in confusion. Okay. A small bracket, it is confusing you. It is stating that in the 14th line is error, 17th line is error, 18th line is error. So like that, 12th line is error. So it will give a lot of confusion to you. So don't confuse the compiler. Simply the code as per the syntax, if you write properly, it will give the results. But suppose if you have done little bit of mistakes, that moment you would be able to find out where is the exact error. First, at the first line, where is the error? You study that. And if you correct that code, you need not to go for rest of the errors. Okay, at first line, what is the error is there? It is stating that you have missed, it is marking here. You need to keep this bracket here. So bracket here, just you do that, and then after you run the code again, so everything will be normal. Okay. You need not to go for next line of code. Error is here. It is stating that error is already I have given the semicolon here. It is mentioning here is also error. So don't confuse yourself. First line, where is the error? You try to do as the compiler is stating that and run the code. Automatically everything will be normal. Okay. No any confusion. Okay. So as per the compiler statement, I need to keep one bracket just here in 14th line. This is the 14th line of code. And here just if I keep as per the compiler, that is the right because of printf function. Inside of printf function started, printf function closed. For what about the size of operator? One open bracket is there, so one open bracket, ending bracket I need to keep here. So whenever I run this code, you will get the result. That is what size of means what? How much of memory allocated for this weight variable? 4 bytes of memory allocated. So who has allocated? That is very important. C compiler. Whether C compiler allocates that memory automatically? Yeah. Whenever you are compiling your line of code, compilation, I told you that compilation, what is that? Compilation means it is a checking procedure. Means C compiler, every programming language has a translator program. Every programming language, inside of that, another program is there. Every language has a translator program. That translator program converts your source code. This is called, whatever we have written, this is called source code. This source code means the code we have written in our as a human being can understand. So this keyboard, this is what keyboard language. By simply by the keyboard over the keyboard, whatever the alphabets by alphabet, some special characters. Special character means this is the special character percentage symbol. This is the semicolon special character brackets. These are the special characters. And that is what English alphabets by using of some numbers 0 to 9. So by the combination of that, we will write some code that is looking like we can understand. That is called a human understandable language. That is called source code. So, and that at the time of whenever you click on this run button, compilation will be done by the translator program. C is entirely compiler based program. What the compiler will what it does, it will read every line of code, all the line of code at a single glance, single look, and it will give the errors if any error is there. Okay, so C is the compiler based program, C++, Java also compiler based program, but Python is the interpreter based program. So Python has an interpreter translator program. What it does, it will check line by line. Okay, but C compiler will not check line by line. It checks all the line of code at a single look. Okay, then it will give the error. But Python interpreter, it is a translator program. It will check line by line. If error is at the 5th line, it stops there until unless you will not rectify that. You will not correct that code. So, okay, at the time of compilation for this operator, for this variable weight, how much of memory allocated by the C compiler? 4 bytes of memory automatically. So how it is possible to know that how much of memory allocated to this variable weight by the size of this is called format specifier and mentioning the size of operator. So let us now copy this total code. Copy this total code. Paste. Now same format specifier. Whenever you want to know how much of memory is allocated for any variable, this format specifier is compulsory. Size of operator, then call that variable. Now, what variable? Another variable is what? Height. So call that height variable. Okay, in C language. Now, if you run this code, what happened? See, let us see what happened here. So it is processing that means 44. Why 44? So For this weight variable, 4 bytes of memory allocated. For this height variable, so I told you that 4 bytes will be allocated, but both are kept side by side. So we need to see 4, then 4, but both are kept side by side, merged. So for this, if I want to this 4 that is to be kept at the next line, I need to keep one operator, one that is called your next line character \n. What do you mean of this \n in C language? It will give next line. It will give next line. Okay. Now run this code. So now 4 and second line 4 will be printed. 4. This 4 bytes of memory is for what? 4 bytes of memory allocated for this weight variable. Next 4 bytes of allocated for this height variable. If you want to keep somewhat text here, one type of text. So memory allotted, okay, for weight variable. Weight is equal. Okay. So now you run this code, you will get memory allotted for weight is equal to 4. So memory allotted for weight is a variable. So you can write weight variable. Okay. So memory allotted for weight variable is equal to how much of 4. 4. Okay, 4. Next, you copy this. You copy for this also you can keep here you paste memory allotted for not weight. It is what? Which variable? Height variable. Next variable is what? HEIGHT. Height variable. Okay. Now you run this code. So you will get a text in front of every memory is allocated 4. 4 is what? 4 is 4 bytes of memory. 4 bytes of memory. Okay. Now, for what about this X variable? It is double, data type is double float. So double float means this variable, double variable, X is a variable, it is double float type. It will store more decimal numbers. So whenever it stores more decimal numbers, surely more memory to be allocated, 8 bytes. If you want to know for this X variable, how much of data is allocated, same code, you need to copy everything. You copy everything and you paste. You paste here and same, you call that in place of height, you call the X variable and you mention here X. So, okay, memory allotted for X variable, 8 bytes, huh? Here, as I told you that, see, this is the result we are seeing in this window, result window, this is the result window. Here, memory allotted for weight variable. So weight variable, this is the weight variable I have created. This is the integer data type. I told you that for this variable, the C compiler automatically at the time of compilation will be allotted 4 bytes of memory. So I told you that, but practically I am proving that by using of this size of operator I have used here to know the how much of memory allocated for this variables, every variable. How many variables? Weight, height, X letter, weight, height, X. In the size operator, just we need to call that variable and any string you want to keep. I want to see this type of string memory allotted for weight variable is equal to I have kept here. Then after this format specifier, I have used it at this place. This format specifier takes how much of memory allocated that will be kept here. So for then I have kept one more string bytes. So then after bytes will be printed. So backslash n, this is a next line character, so that every line of statement will be kept in next line, next line. Otherwise, all the statements will be kept mingled, okay, mixed, okay. In a single statement, everything will be printed, so that I have kept this backslash and next line character here, next line character, okay, and comma, and the size of operator inside of this I have called the variables. So by this we can simply say that this by this size of operator we can find that how much of memory will be allocated for the variables at the time of compilation time. That is called C language memory management. Okay. So this topic covered. So why is important to know? What is the important to know as the programmers? If you are working with C language, you are the C language programmer. So why do you need to know the importance of memory management? That is very important topic. Yeah? So if you create a program, okay, if it occupies too much of memory, understood that in C language, whenever you are creating the program, that moment it occupies that program. Program, told you that program is what? Some line of code. It may be 10 lines, 20 lines, 100 lines, 1000 lines. Even though 5 lines, 2 lines of code is also called a program. Okay. So as per your requirement, you have written n number of line of code. So that will be called as a program. So if you have written more line of code, so that program occupies more memory. If you have written less statements, less line of code, so it will occupy less memory. So whenever you have created a program, if it occupies too much of memory, that memory unnecessarily you are creating the variables, okay, unnecessary, that is using the memory. So in resulting of that, your program will be performance will be very slow. Its performance will be very slow and poor performance. So as a programmer, you need to manage the memory very efficiently. Understand that. That's why we need to understand that memory management in C language is very important. As a programmer, you need to manage the program. So if you have managed memory yourself, we have to manage the memory ourselves in the C language. So generally it is very complicated task. As a programmer, you need to allocate the memory, okay, and reallocate the memory. If that memory is not sufficient, again you need to reallocate the memory. And whenever the task is completed, you need to deallocate the memory, means freeing of space. You need to free up the space. So it is a complicated task. As a programmer, you need to manage the memory yourself in C language. So it is very complicated. So still it is also quite powerful. So if you have handled that memory management very carefully and correctly, so it is so powerful. It's properly managing the computer memory, so it increases the performance of the program. Okay. So by properly managing as a C programmer, if you have properly managed the program, so it optimizes means it increases the performance of the program. So whenever you know that, you should know how to release the memory. That is called freeing up the memory. So allocation of the memory, reallocation of the memory, and releasing of the memory. If any memory is not required, is not no longer required, that moment you need to release the memory. Huh? So it is very important, but it is while you are working with memory management, we need to deal with memory addresses and pointers. Okay. So at the time of memory management, we need to directly work with memory through pointers. Already I have taken a class over pointers. Pointers are nothing but they are the variables which will hold the memory address of another variables as a data. So while you are working with pointers, pointers must be handled with very care because there may be a chance to damage the data stored in that memory addresses. Okay. So pointers will hold the memory address of other variables. So while you are working with pointers, it is very, you need to handle it very careful while you are working with pointers because they will hold the memory addresses of another variable. So memory management, it is very important topic. So finally, we can say the process of handling is called memory management is the process of handling how much of memory a program uses through allocation, reallocation, and deallocation. Deallocation means it is often referred to as freeing up of the memory. Okay, it is under the memory management. We need to understand all the topics, how to allocate the memory, reallocation of the memory, deallocation of the memory, from what functions are there, malloc function, kellogg function. Okay. So at the end of this topic, I want to do somewhat little bit exercise. What does the following code output? Double, my double. I told you that double is the data type, mostly used for float type of data, means decimal value. So my double is a variable created. So it will, by this printf function, we have used the format specifier, this one, size of operator. So whenever we call this my double variable, so C compiler will allocate 8 bytes of memory. How much of memory? This is the right answer. You submit the answer. So it is correct question. Next question, which is related with why is memory management important in C programming? Why? Memory management is very important in C program. Why? It allows C to manage memory automatically. So I told you that C never manage memory automatically. As a programmer, you need to manage the memory. You need to, as a programmer, we need to manage. So this is wrong statement. So proper memory management optimizes means it increases the program performance and prevents unnecessary memory. This is the right statement. It helps increase the default memory size for variables. It helps increase the default. No, once default memory size for variables, default size. What is the default size for integer value? Integer variables, once integer variable is created, 4 bytes of memory automatically allotted, that is default memory size. So it increases the default memory size for float variable, 4 bytes of memory, that is the default memory size. So that is default memory size, that is not increased for every that is what your double float. Okay, 8 bytes of memory will be allocated, that is the default size. For character, 1 byte of memory will be allocated, that is default size. So this statement increasing the default is wrong. So it prevents variables from being assigned new values. So it is also wrong. So this is the right statement. Proper memory management optimizes program performance and prevents unnecessary memory usage. This is the main reason of memory management. Unnecessary memory usage, we need to stop that. Okay. So that the program can be run very fastly and its performance will be very best performance. If you want to get better performance a program, so that is proper memory management is very important. Next question, correct answer. So next question is what? Which statement is true about pointers in C? So what are the pointers in C? I told you that pointers are the variables. They are holding the memory addresses of other variables. So let us see. Pointers are only used to storage integers? No. Pointers are used to store memory addresses of other variables. So it is wrong statement. Pointers allow direct manipulation of memory and should be used with care. This is the right point. Pointers allow direct manipulation of memory. Memory means memory addresses. So direct, you can interact with memory addresses and should be used with care. This is the right statement. Pointers automatically manage memory usage. No. Pointers will not automatically manage memory. They are the pointers are what? They will hold the memory address of other variables. So it is wrong statement. Pointers are only needed in low level. This is wrong. This is the right statement. Pointers, by the pointers, what we can do, we can directly interact with the memory addresses. That memory addresses are stored in pointers. So pointers are what? They are the variables. That variable hold the memory address of other variable. Okay. That variable holding the data. Okay. So this is the right correct answer. Next question. So what is memory management? So the process of allocating, reallocating, and freeing memory in a program is called memory management. This statement is right. The process, what is memory management mean? The process of allocating of memory. Two functions will be used. I will explain in the class. Malloc and Calloc, MALLOC function, Malloc and Calloc, CALLOC, Calloc function. To allocate, allocating, for allocating. Okay, reallocating, alloc function will be the relock function. And freeing of memory allocation, the free function will be used. Okay, I will explain next class. Using variables to store data in a program. What is memory management? Using variables to store data in a program. No. So variables will be used to store data in a program. That is okay. But memory management means process of allocating, reallocating, and freeing up of memory in a. This is the right statement. Okay. So now you correct answer. You go for what potential risk is associated with pointers? What is the risk while you are working with pointers? What may be the risk? Generally, risk is what? Maybe you may damage the data which is stored in that pointers, memory addresses. Okay. So pointers will hold the memory address of other variables while you are working with pointers. That pointers are holding memory addresses of other variables. That variable holds what? Data. So they increase the memory usage of variables. No, they can overwrite other data in memory if not handled carefully. This is the right statement. This is the risk while you are working with pointers. So whatever the data in that memory address may be overwritten if you will not handle that memory pointers carefully. Okay. So they are incompatible with C function. They are difficult to use. This is the right statement. You run this. Congratulations. We have done. So all the questions we have completed. So under this memory management, okay, under the memory management, what is this? Under the memory management, we have written the code very well. We have studied. Okay. So here, this is the right thing. The class conducted very nice. And okay, under the C language, under the memory management, I have briefed the memory management has different topics, allocation of the memory. Today's what is memory management, how to handle the memory, what is the importance of the memory. Next class, how to allocate the memory, I will explain. And there are two ways of memory allocation: static memory allocation, dynamic memory allocation. I will explain what is static memory and dynamic memory allocation, and I will explain in the next class. Okay. So, and then how to, I told you that two functions will be used, malloc function, calloc function. By these two functions, dynamic memory will be allocated. I will explain what is dynamic memory, static memory. Generally, static memory will be allocated at the time of compilation time. Dynamic memory will be allocated at the time of runtime. That's why it's called runtime memory allocation. Okay, runtime means I told you that already. I have briefed. Runtime is what, compilation is what. Compilation means code will be compiled, okay, and it checks for any errors or there. If there is no any check, the source code will be converted into binary code, and that is called object code, means 0, 1 binary bits. That is called compilation. If there is no any error, your code will be compiled into machine language 0, 1. At the time of runtime, what happened? This 0, 1 will be fed to your microprocessor and it reads that. Then after it will give the result, as you can understand, as a human understandable format. Okay, understood that? This have a nice day. The class has been conducted, and next line, next day, tomorrow, tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow is today is Friday. Next day, I will conduct the class over on Saturday and allocate memory. Okay, what is static memory? I will explain. And what is the disadvantage in static memory means here mostly maybe chances of uh, memory wastage of memory will be in static memory. There is a chance of wastage of memory. Okay, I will explain how. If suppose if 20 students have been one array has been created with 20 students at the starting of the class, but at the semester starting, only 12 students have joined. So 8 students memory will be generally for 20 integers. So every integer will 4 bytes of memory will be allocated. So 20 students, 20 into 4, 80 bytes will be allocated automatically for this array of students. But what happened? Then after what only 12 students they are attending at the semester starting. So 8 students data will be wasted. 8 into 4, 32 bytes of memory will be wasted. So that is what it is not in your hands. That is the demerit of static memory. Once memory is allocated, so it is not in your hands to handle that. So at the time of static memory allocation, but to overcome to overcome this, okay, dynamic memory allocation, because dynamic memory will be allocated at the time of runtime. Okay, so memory efficiently, the memory management can be done very efficiently. That is the thing. Okay, I will explain in the next class. So don't worry. Look at these two functions are the part of the standard library. That moment we need to include what? That standard library. Okay, in this code, standard library we need to include. Okay, for whenever you are working with what? Dynamic memory. Okay, dynamic memory allocation. That moment we need to work with two functions, malloc and calloc functions. So that moment std library, that is to be, this is what std library, which is having that malloc function, calloc, how to use malloc and calloc functions. I will explain in the next class. Okay, thank you. Have a nice day. Okay, Jai Hind. If anybody is interested, you can attend my classes. These are all very free classes. And especially Friday, thrice of a week, Friday, Saturday, Sundays, classes will be conducted. Whether you are attending, not attending, doesn't matter. As per my promise, class will be conducted and that will be kept in my YouTube channel. You can go there and you can understand the classes. If you have any doubts, you can make a call to me. My number is 9110398650. Okay. Thank you. Have a nice day. Jai Hind.